Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into the eerie world of Reddit to uncover 3 true ghost stories that will send shivers down your spine. These are the tales that keep you up at night, the ones that make you double-check your locks and sleep with the lights on. We're talking about real people, real experiences, and real fear, so buckle up, grab your nightlight, and get ready to explore the dark side of Reddit. Let's get spooky. Our first story takes us back to someone's childhood, a time when things go bump in the night, and you can't quite tell if it's your imagination or something more sinister. The shadows seem to dance just out of the corner of your eye, and every creak of the floorboards sends a shiver down your spine. This Reddit user swears up and down that their childhood home was haunted. They recount tales that would make even the bravest among us think twice about turning off the lights. I mean, we've all been there, right? Sitting around a campfire or huddled in a dark room, sharing ghost stories that make our skin crawl. Creaky floorboards, a drafty old house. But this was different. This wasn't just the usual settling noises of an old home. It started subtly, like most good haunting stories do. Flickering lights, subtle movements in the shadows, things that could easily be dismissed. Footsteps in the dead of night, slow and heavy, like someone was pacing the hallway outside their bedroom door. The kind of footsteps that make your heart race and your breath catch in your throat. Of course, they'd work up the courage to peek out, heart pounding, only to find nothing. Just an empty hallway, as if the house itself was playing tricks on them. Empty hallway, shadows playing tricks on them. The mind can be a powerful thing, conjuring up images and sounds that aren't really there. At least that's what they told themselves, but the feeling of unease never really went away. But then came the whispers. Soft, unintelligible murmurs that seemed to come from the walls themselves. It was as if the house was alive, trying to communicate. Soft, unintelligible murmurs that seemed to come from the walls themselves, like the house was trying to speak, to tell them something, or warn them, like the house was trying to speak, to tell them something, or warn them. Objects started moving. A toy left on the floor would be found across the room. A toy left on the floor would be found across the room. A picture hanging on the wall would be inexplicably crooked. A picture hanging on the wall would be inexplicably crooked. Everyday occurrences, but with no logical explanation. Everyday occurrences, but with no logical explanation. The fear was becoming a constant companion. The fear was becoming a constant companion. Sleepless nights listening to every creak and groan of the house. Sleepless nights listening to every creak and groan of the house. Every gust of wind sounded like a moan. Every shadow seemed to hold a sinister shape. Every gust of wind sounded like a moan. Every shadow seemed to hold a sinister shape. The tension was palpable, and the family was on edge. One night the activity reached a fever pitch. A book flew off a shelf in the living room, crashing against the wall with a terrifying boom. That was it. A book flew off a shelf in the living room, crashing against the wall with a terrifying boom. That was it. They couldn't take it anymore. They couldn't take it anymore. The family called in a paranormal investigator, a real ghostbuster if you will. The family called in a paranormal investigator, a real ghostbuster if you will. And what they found sent chills down their spines. And what they found sent chills down their spines. The house was indeed a beacon for lost souls, a way station for spirits unable to move on. The house was indeed a beacon for lost souls, a way station for spirits unable to move on. The investigator helped the family cleanse the house, sending those restless spirits on their way. The investigator helped the family cleanse the house, sending those restless spirits on their way. But the memory of those chilling events, the feeling of being watched, of being surrounded by the unseen, that never really goes away. But the memory of those chilling events, the feeling of being watched, of being surrounded by the unseen, that never really goes away. This wasn't just a haunted house, it was a stark reminder that sometimes the things that go bump in the night are very, very real. This wasn't just a haunted house, it was a stark reminder that sometimes the things that go bump in the night are very, very real. And those memories, those fears, they linger long after the spirits have gone. College, am I right? Ramen noodles, all-night study sessions, and ghostly roommates? Sounds like the perfect recipe for a memorable college experience, doesn't it? That's right, our next story comes from the hallowed halls of higher education, where one student got a crash course in the paranormal. It's a tale that will make you question every creak and shadow in your own dorm room. Imagine this, you're moving into your dorm room, excited for the year ahead, ready to embrace the freedom and independence of college life. The possibilities seem endless and the future is bright. You've got your roommate picked out, a seemingly normal person with a shared love of instant coffee and procrastination. But something feels off. It's a feeling you can't quite shake, even as you try to settle in. The air in your room is constantly cold, even when the heat is blasting. You find yourself bundling up in layers, wondering why the room never seems to warm up. The lights have a tendency to flicker, casting unsettling shadows on the walls. It's as if the room itself is alive, playing tricks on your mind. You brush it off as old building quirks, but deep down, a sense of unease starts to creep in. And then, things escalate. The feeling of being watched becomes almost palpable. You start hearing your roommate's voice, even when you know they're not there. It's a disembodied presence that sends chills down your spine. Whispers, murmurs, sometimes even full-blown conversations, but always just out of earshot. It's like a ghostly echo that never quite reaches you. You try to rationalize it, tell yourself you're just stressed, sleep-deprived, maybe spending a little too much time in the library stacks. But the doubt lingers. The more you try to ignore it, the more persistent it becomes. One night, you wake up in a cold sweat, a feeling of dread washing over you. It's as if the room itself is suffocating you with its eerie presence. You glance at your roommate's bed, expecting to see them sound asleep, but it's empty. The sheets are undisturbed, as if no one has slept there in ages. You check the bathroom, the common room, even brave the hallway in your pajamas, but your roommate is nowhere to be found. It's as if they've vanished into thin air. Panic starts to set in. Your mind races with possibilities, each more terrifying than the last. Where could they be at this hour? You feel a growing sense of urgency, a need to find answers before the night is over. You decide to check one last place, the campus directory. Maybe there's a clue there, something that will explain the strange occurrences. You type in your roommate's name, hoping for a clue, an address, anything, but what you find sends a chill down your spine. The screen displays information that you never expected to see. Your roommate's name is listed, but with a chilling note, deceased. The realization hits you like a ton of bricks. Tragically passed away in a dorm fire 5 years prior. The details are haunting, and the implications are even more so. The blood drains from your face as the truth hits you like a ton of bricks. You've been living with a ghost, a spirit, trapped in the place where they met their untimely end. You've been living with a ghost. The cold spots, the flickering lights, the whispers, it all makes sense now. The pieces of the puzzle fall into place, and the picture they form is terrifying. The cold spots, the flickering lights, the whispers, it all makes sense now. The spirit has been trying to communicate, to make its presence known. You're not crazy, you're just sharing your space with a spirit who never checked out. The realization is both terrifying and oddly comforting. You now understand the source of the disturbances, but the question remains, what do you do next? Chapter 3. The Phantom Hitchhiker. Our final tale takes us to a desolate stretch of highway, where a late-night drive takes a terrifying turn into the twilight zone. This road, shrouded in darkness and mystery, has been the setting for countless eerie encounters and unexplained phenomena. This is the story of the Phantom Hitchhiker, a tale as old as time itself, but no less chilling for its familiarity. Legends of ghostly hitchhikers have been passed down through generations, each story more spine-tingling than the last. Picture this. You're driving home late one night, the road stretching out before you like a ribbon of asphalt winding through the darkness. The moon casts an eerie glow, illuminating the path just enough to see a few feet ahead. The only sounds are the hum of your engine and the occasional call of a night bird. The rhythmic thump of the tires on the pavement is almost hypnotic, lulling you into a false sense of security. Suddenly you see a figure standing by the side of the road, thumb outstretched, the universal sign for a ride. The figure is barely visible in the dim light, but you can make out the outline of a person. Now, your mama probably told you not to pick up hitchhikers, and usually, you wouldn't dream of it. The stories of danger and deceit are enough to keep anyone's doors locked tight. But something about this lone figure tugs at your heartstrings. Maybe it's the way they stand, looking so lost and forlorn, or perhaps it's the eerie stillness of the night that makes you feel a strange sense of duty. You pull over, and the figure slides into the passenger seat. The air inside the car seems to drop a few degrees, and you can't help but shiver slightly. They're quiet, almost eerily so, but polite. Their presence is unsettling, yet you can't pinpoint exactly why. They thank you for the ride, tell you their name, and mention their destination. Normal, everyday conversation, right? But something feels off. The way they speak, the words they choose, it's all just a bit too rehearsed. The hitchhiker's voice is oddly quiet, almost a whisper, and their touch when they brush your hand accidentally sends a shiver down your spine. It's as if their very presence is draining the warmth from the air. It's like they're not quite all there. You glance over, and for a moment, it seems like they're fading in and out of existence, like a mirage. You reach their destination, a turnoff onto a dark, deserted road. The place looks abandoned, with no signs of life or habitation. They thank you again, their voice barely audible, and then they're gone, vanishing into the night as quickly as they appeared. One moment they're there, the next, the passenger seat is empty. You continue on your way, the encounter leaving you with an unsettling feeling. The road ahead seems darker, the night colder. Days later you're telling the story to a friend, describing the hitchhiker, the strange feeling you got, everything. You expect them to laugh it off, but their reaction is far from what you anticipated. Your friend's face goes white as a sheet, their eyes widen in shock and disbelief. That's impossible, they say, their voice trembling. They can barely get the words out, their fear palpable. That person you described, they died years ago in a car accident on that very road. The revelation hits you like a ton of bricks. You brush it off at first, but your friend insists. They look at you with a mix of concern and fear, urging you to believe them. They show you an old news article, a faded photograph of the person you picked up. The resemblance is uncanny. It's like looking at a ghost from the past. You try to rationalize it, tell yourself it's just a coincidence, but deep down you know the truth. The pieces of the puzzle fit together too perfectly. You gave a ride to a ghost, a lost soul still wandering the road where they met their untimely end. The thought is both terrifying and sad. The thought sends chills down your spine. You can't shake the feeling that you've crossed paths with the supernatural. You'll never forget the phantom hitchhiker, a chilling reminder that sometimes the line between this world and the next is thinner than we think. The experience leaves you with a newfound respect for the unknown and a story that will haunt you for the rest of your days. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these ghost stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more spine-tingling tales. Have a spooky story of your own? Share it in the comments below. Remember, these are just a few of the countless creepy stories lurking in the depths of Reddit. Who knows what other terrifying tales are waiting to be uncovered? Until next time, sweet dreams, and try not to worry about that creaking floorboard. It's probably just the house settling. Probably.